and you just keep making the same goddamn mistakes over and over again.
Maybe the point is to keep trying. Maybe getting it right just one time is good enough.
QAnon has used myriad channels to spread its wild theories.
Important to use the pronouns that someone uses for themselves is that it reduces the discomfort and the distress.
QAnon runs on the tracks that faith has laid.
Good day.
Hi.
All to you. I am Gnome Zane. This is Flippin' Diplomacy, and back welcome, friends mine. Today, as you can tell from the title of this episode, we're going to examine how Sound of Freedom is blatant QAnon propaganda. This film is far, far, far right, if not Nazi doctrine. Now, some very namby-pamby critics have toned it down, trying to be polite, I guess, and said it's QAnon adjacent. No. QAnon incarnate is more like it. We're coming for you. That's what they're saying here. And I've had enough of it. I've had enough of this QAnon hooey. We have to take a stand. It's getting beyond out of control. This film, every frame is bathed in QAnon and far-right isms. Right in the film, everything surrounding the film, everyone in the film. And we're going to come back to that. Who's in it? Oh, yes, indeed. We'll see all who's involved in a bit. Now, first a bit of history. Air quotes on history. Apparently, they had it in the can for 5 years because distributors didn't want to touch it. The real reason is they were waiting for this election cycle. It was too late to put the finishing touches on this evil for the 2020 election. Thankfully, Biden won handily. Why during the election cycle? Because it hits out at the left. Obviously, they are saying in this film that it's the left that is doing all this child trafficking, again with air quotes. I mean, it's QAnon. What else would they be saying? Why else would they even make the film? That's correct. Smear the left. Accuse the left. If QAnon is far right, then clearly what they do is anti-left propaganda. That's all they do. They'll tell you there's nothing in the script that suggests there's any partisan leaning, but the subtext, man, it's all there. Won't somebody please think of the subtext? And this accusing the left thing reminds me of something from a couple years back. That there was a word that was being bandied about. Oh, shoot. I had it. What was it again? It'll come to me.
It's not a tumor.
But people on the right were labeling people who were doing certain things around children as this word. And some people on the left immediately recognized the subtext and said, hey, you're talking about us. Stop it. Now, these right-wing accusers say they never claimed that it had anything to do with that certain group of people, a certain marginalized and oppressed and frankly endangered group. But QAnon's meaning was clear. It was this innocent yet vilified and uncelebrated group of people who were being accused. Again, the right claims they were just upset about the behavior around kids and not about the identity of, as such, of these people. But again, the subtext was clear. What was that word? It sounded like, no, I've lost it.
It might be a tumor.
This is clearly the exact same MO with this film. Purposely avoid pointing the finger directly at the left, so that therefore it's obvious that it is about the left. But thankfully, praise Marsh, almost all mainstream media has cottoned on to this. They're calling it out and saying, hey, this thing is far, far right QAnon propaganda. There is no reason to see it. Because if you do, you run the risk of being indoctrinated into this crap yourself. And it is crap. Child sex trafficking. Obviously, this is something that is not happening. It's never happened. It never could happen. So why make a film about it? It makes me think, why is there even a documentary category for movies? When virtually all films are solid fact. The only exceptions, of course, are animated things, often for kids, right? So if you're going to make something up, why not do a cartoon version so that people understand that it's just a fantasy? Unicorn child traffickers from planet Jeffrey, maybe. In a perfect non-QAnon, non-far-right world, sure, they might do that. In a world where people aren't shamefully accused of doing things around or to children, people who want nothing more to express their identity and their desire to include everyone in every possible activity, no matter their age, why attack these people? FFS. If ever there was a case for censorship, this is it. How else are we going to stop QAnon? And this is just another false flag by QAnon and the far, far right, intended to make a big stink about something that doesn't even exist. Truly shameful and devious. And look, we know that child sex trafficking doesn't exist because, well, as the right likes to say, where are the receipts? For example, this Ghislaine Maxwell character. Sure, she got convicted of the trafficking, but only because she agreed to take the fall for Epstein, who was also a patsy of QAnon. I was reading they were probably extorting him over something else entirely, like maybe his secret Nazi stronghold in Lithuania. But the point is, they've got his so-called client list, but nothing's ever come of it. Why? Because it's not a thing. Clearly. I mean, the FBI would have arrested everybody in it by now, right? It's like this Hunter Biden cocaine hoax. It only took the FBI like 5 days or so to realize there was no way to find out whose coke it was, and they admitted it. Exactly the same kind of thing with Epstein's list. They've had, 3-4 years? They haven't been able to get any dope on anyone. Because there's no one to get dope on, clearly. Alright, as promised, the cast and crew. From the director to the best boy, the casting director, to... Oh my gosh, I just realized. Look at this. Look at this. Look at these names. Jamie Catroci. Andrew Rodriguez. Rodriguez? You know, the majority of Latinx people spell this name with a G, Rodriguez. But he just has to find a way to insert a dog whistle, doesn't he? Ana Marie Duque Guevara, Juliana Velasquez, acting coach. Indoctrination coach is more like it. The director, Alejandro Monteverde. You know what that translates to in English? Green Mountain. Isn't that exactly where these far-right extremist preppers all live? Green Mountains? Or at least where they want to live? Look at this list of producers. Look at it. I've done the work. I've done the research. Every last one of these producers is a documented far-right activist. One of them is even in a PTA group, FFS. Paul Sidney Hutchinson. Mr. Hutchinson is well known for his inspirational presentations. He has been the keynote speaker to royalty and family office conferences on 6 continents. Wonder what kind of presentations they did in Antarctica. He's the founder of the Child Liberation Foundation and has dedicated countless hours and donations to making an impact in the fight against child trafficking. Well, I guess you made quite an impact there, didn't you, Paul? Since there ain't any, so good job. Lucas Benken, born in, Germany. Let's see. Carla Houle, casting director. Look at this. Her work includes Black Demon. This is not a dog whistle, my friends. This is not some inaudible toot. This is a bullhorn. We're demonizing black people, and we don't even care who knows it. Lovely. Don't even get me started on what QAnon tried to pull in Paraguay. God damn. And the critics. Look at this. Major film critics boycott Sound of Freedom despite box office success. Well, why would you give any space to a movie about something that doesn't exist? The ones who have critiqued the film understandably have taken a strong aversion to it. Rolling Stone here. Sound of Freedom, superhero movie for dads with brainworms. QAnon-tinged thriller about child trafficking designed to appeal to the conscience of a conspiracy-addled boomer. Conscience. It's more insidious than that. Look, they're trying to appeal to your conscience. That's not something we want to do. It's certainly not something that true liberals, that we on the left would ever do. This is a devious ploy, making appeals to the hearts of perhaps otherwise decent folks who want to be good citizens, good allies, good inclusivity agents. I've heard radical conservatives say that asking people to use preferred pronouns is an appeal to conscience. Be polite, be nice. We all know at this point that using proper pronouns is just proven scientific lived experience. We all know the concreteness and truth that words are violence if you refuse to use pronouns. Here's another one. Sound of Freedom, QAnon adjacent thriller seducing America. Understatement, but they got the right idea. Second paragraph here. Type the word Sound of Freedom into Twitter. Decent people who wish to live good, happy lives should under no circumstances actually do this. You got that right. You have got that so right. They should not. Good people who prioritize safety should never use the internet to find out things. We know this. And then at the end here, tapped into a substantial and eagerly marshaled viewership. Right on. QAnon has been waiting to assemble this exact team of would-be extremists. Yes, all of the audience members out there who may not even know it, they're on the verge of radicalization. Now, to be fair, there have been some positive reviews. I don't know what to make of them, really, but look at this, Plugged In. Let's be blunt, Sound of Freedom is a brutal film to watch. Yeah, but it might also be the most important movie you see this year. Yeah, important if you want to be indoctrinated into believing this trafficking thing is actually happening. Plugged In by Focus on the Family. Family. More Nazi crap. And then God's Children are not for sale. Well, no, they're not, because this is a fantasy. It's not happening, so indeed, they are not for sale. Well, that's it, my friends. We have thoroughly exposed the QAnon, and QAnon adjacent, if you want, the QAnon tinged, QAnon flavored, QAnon scented, QAnon enriched propaganda that is Sound of Freedom. Again, the film itself Its seductive but subterfuge-laden message, the cast, the crew, the heavily biased media who tout this would-be proselytism as important, we see now what QAnon is really up to. Trying to make the world a place where they can use children as pawns just to win elections, to sway you into believing their radical ideology, to scare you, and then incite you into taking action against the beautiful, innocent, marginalized, poor, oppressed souls who are on the right side of history. Praise Marsh. Spread the word, people. If we can't get this film censored, at least make sure all your friends and family and neighbors and coworkers know what the real truth is. Good night and good ally.
Hi.